This is CT and DJ coming at you. That's a tap. We're here to talk about all things UFC. DJ, how are we doing? 2023, new man.
New man, happy new year, my man. CT, good to catch up. We're gonna start off the year with a bang. Just look at some announced fights coming up. Love to as always, come here and break down fights and preview and recap. We've got a lot going on at the moment. It's just been 3-4 days since the new year started. There's a lot of news to discuss, fight announcements, and whatnot. Look, 2022 was a fantastic year for the UFC and for any UFC fan, right? I think they had some great cards there, and then obviously we going into 2023 with sort of the same momentum, and the UFC as always pushing hard, and we got 2 big pay-per-views already announced. With London also, they've touched on London. No fights announced. There are some exciting fight nights as well. So look, man, excited to be an MMA fan. Let's see what the year holds.
It's going to be a banger of a year, man. Every year this thing just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And a lot of boxing going on.
Yeah.
So here's to a great year.
I know. And hey, we're getting a new angle into this combat sports as well, with the UFC partnering with the slap contest.
Yes.
They're bringing that to Vegas. The president of the UFC maybe going above and beyond to promote his slap comp. I know you would have seen on media there was a lot of controversy in terms of what happened down in Mexico when the UFC president was taking a well-deserved break. In Mexico, alcohol flowing. Obviously made a bad judgment call. Was attacked by his wife first, and then obviously he returned fire, and he returned with interest. Obviously there was a 1 for 2. I was doing the rounds in the internet. What did you think of that?
Look, it's I always hate when there's obviously controversy involved. Obviously it's just a situation between a husband and a wife. There's been apologies, and then there's been a regret. Obviously, there's been some statements. I think, like we talked about off air.
Yeah.
It's hard to see the UFC or Endeavour really doing anything.
Yeah, true.
About it. Anything major. It's obviously very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's not to be condoned. A lot of alcohol involved, but hopefully a lesson learned from this situation.
Look, all jokes apart, obviously, they've come out and released statements. They're very remorseful for their actions, and they, obviously, are heavily indicating there was a lot of alcohol. You're winding down towards the end of the year. You never know. Look, it's unfortunate, especially when you're onshore the entire time and you're such a popular figure. Obviously you got eyes on you all the time, you got cameras on you all the time, and then obviously as human beings sometimes you slip up, and again, like you said, definitely not to be condoned. It's never okay. But look, it happened. I don't think there should be anything done about it. Obviously they've spoken about it, they've announced, and they've come out and they've come out in support of each other, as well as obviously condoning that behavior themselves. So I think that's the end of that. Obviously it takes a hit on your image. You know what I mean, like how you will be viewed upon, especially a controversial figure such as the UFC president. Obviously we know how Dana is very outspoken, very brash. And obviously he hasn't made has made a few enemies along the way, and obviously in light of all that, obviously there's going to be a lot of people are going to make a field day out of it. But at the end of the day, look, it's something that is between a husband and a wife, and I think as long as there's this remorse and they've understood what's happened, I think we should just respect that privacy. As to that.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's going to continue to be on the news. He's a popular, president of the UFC. But it doesn't matter. Whether you're just an unknown person or a president. Obviously, you have actions, have consequences, and we'll wait to see what further comes of it. But with that said, obviously there was some other recent news, DJ, affecting us in the Perth card.
Firework.
UFC.
Is it a firework announcement? So
Yep.
we knew this was going to happen because we're talking about Jack Della Maddalena. He obviously, once he finished his last fight in emphatic fashion, he said he's going to be on that Perth card. He called for it, and we knew it was going to happen. It was a good turnaround. Like the time period was sufficient. Hometown hero. It doesn't make any sense not to have him on that card, so we knew that was going to happen. What's even more exciting is the matchup that we've got. Right, I'm pretty sure, given the fallout of the Robert Whittaker and the Paulo Costa fight, the UFC probably felt pressure to add some high-impact fights, and one of them is the fight that just got announced between Jack Della Maddalena and Randy Brown. Two elite strikers, I think, guaranteed fireworks, precision strikers. We are in for a feast. It's a 3-round banger, so obviously, it'll be a lot more fast-paced. I'm excited, man. I'm excited, and obviously, you're going to be cage side for this. You be prepared for the roof to come off the arena. Hold on to your hats, right? And then, man, it's going to be exciting. And provided he gets the win, which I'm confident he will. It's gonna be just nuts in that arena. So that's it.
Very happy for him. For the fans, everyone. This card obviously, needed more fireworks, like you said. We're still obviously waiting to hear maybe if there's another fight or two added. Dan Hooker could be a name who's
Dan Hooker's been calling for it too.
Calling for it, but they just seem to be struggling for a guy who wants to fly all the way here to get a beat down. Which I understand if you're an unranked or ranked fighter, it's a far way to travel, but the UFC, I think, will want to still bulk up that card a bit more. But did
the Arman Sarukian talk go anywhere?
No, nothing.
Nothing came out of it. That's a good fight, man. That's a tough fight for Dan Hooker, but it's a good fight. Two top 10 lightweights. I
think it could all the way up to 3 weeks out. We might still get an announcement because they haven't even officially announced Maddalena, and that it's only been It's only been outlets confirmed.
And Randy Brown obviously putting up on his media as well.
The UFC's slow in terms of officially releasing the.
Maybe they're careful to wait for all parties to sign after what happened with Whittaker and Costa. But here's the other interesting part is UFC hasn't officially come out and said that the Costa Whittaker fight is off, have they?
No, I don't think they have.
But Whittaker obviously came out.
Outlets, news outlets confirmed. Obviously, Borachira has confirmed.
Both fighters have confirmed. It's rather unfortunate, man. I mean, forget about whether it's in Perth or whether it's in Vegas. That's a massive fight. Again, a great matchup. Has a big impact on. Where they go to next, the winner, especially if it's Robert Whittaker, right? He's knocking on that title shot again, so quite unfortunate.
You get me started again because I was bringing up a fresh wound. Because, like you said, I want to leave aside the fact that it's in Perth. Leave aside the fact that it's Borachira and him and it's a good matchup down under. But the fact that Robert Whittaker is healthy and in Australia and the UFC hasn't been down here in 3.5 years, and one of your biggest fighters in your country is not going to be on the local card for no other reason other than they can't find him another matchup. He's healthy. He's not the one that I would have. If I was the UFC, I would have just scrambled to just get him another opponent. Vittori even said, "I'll do it."
Jared Cannonier said he would do it. So he's coming. Cannonier's coming off a green. I can understand why they wouldn't do Vittori because he just lost to Whittaker, and then it was just a 3-0 beatdown, right? So it doesn't make sense to maybe have him there. But Cannonier, you know what I mean? There's an argument that Cannonier won that first round in their last outing, and then obviously injured his hand, and then all that and whatnot. And then he was saying, I'm willing to come down and fight, coming off a win off Sean Strickland. So, it's you're right. It's devastating to think that you have one of your biggest stars and one of the most adored fighters in this region healthy and ready to fight, but not able to fight. It's very unfortunate. But I guess, look, let's hope it's for a better reason. Maybe. Maybe there's a title shot waiting for him against Pereira. Right? Could be that.
Definitely.
So, let's see. I will also make note that this is the second time this matchup's fallen off. So, Costa and Whittaker were meant to fight the first time, and that fell off. Obviously, and Gastelum took that spot.
It's not meant to be. And that was in Perth too.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just something about it.
It was in Vegas. It was actually in Vegas. Sorry,
okay.
it was in Vegas.
But I remember Whitaker had to pull out of an Aussie card before.
It was Perth. It was UFC Perth against Luke Rockhold all the way back. Yeah. And then Yoel Romero stepped in, missed weight, and knocked out Rockhold, and then fought for the title against Whitaker and missed weight again, sorry. But hey, look, big year ahead, man. Like, I think we're going to start with the fight night. We got Gastelum taking on Imavov on a Vegas fight night. Hopefully, we're going to see less of these Vegas Apex fight nights now, and we're going to start seeing more on the road. As you said, right, you got these great, big, healthy fighters who are big crowd pleasers and draws, who are able to fight in those regions, and they're able to hold their own. Right? So maybe we'll see more on the road, right? Maybe another UFC Paris. We're definitely going to see London UFC, especially because the pay-per-views announced, but I won't be surprised if they go there twice, one for a fight night, and they should replicate that down here too. You're coming for a pay-per-view, all right, let's come back again in September, maybe October, for another fight night even, you know what I mean?
Hopefully.
So hopefully we see that. But then we got the big one, UFC 283, the pay-per-view, headlined by Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill for the lightweight title, put together in somewhat of a haste. After the aftermath of for Rio, after the Blachowicz Ankalaev draw and all the controversy that followed it. And hold on, let me check what are the fights were. I'm just loading it on my digital glass here. Yep, that's it. So we got Davison Figueiredo taking on Brandon Moreno for the first time in the history of the UFC. It's a quadrilogy. We got Durinho, Gilbert Burns taking on Neil Magny. That's going to be a great fight. We have the Brazilian legend Shogun Rua fighting on the card.
Wow.
We got Jessica Andrade fighting on the card as well. She's fighting Lauren Murphy. So look, it's a great card. They obviously got a lot of Brazilian talent in there. They've got Thiago Moises fighting in there as well. And how could we forget your favorite fighter, Johnny Walker, taking on Paul Craig in the preliminary.
No Moicano.
No Moicano, surprisingly. I mean, they should have.
He's been pressing. And no Nunes.
No Nunes. I think Nunes, it's interesting where I'm still struggling to understand where Nunes is at in terms of a mindset. Is she fully dialed in, or is she, she's made a lot of money. Obviously, she's accomplished everything you can accomplish. Also, for me, the biggest impact is not having Charles Oliveira there. It would have been a big... I wouldn't complain too much, because if that had happened in Rio, we wouldn't have got the Islam versus... Volkanovski and Feb, but it would have been a big fight in Rio for the belt between Charles and Islam. But look, Charles obviously wants a bit more time off as well, which is great. So there we go. We got a big pay-per-view card there. And then we also got Lewis fighting Spivak in another fight night. Another exciting fight night got announced. The headliner being, and that's the only fight that's been announced so far, which is Corey Sandhagen and Chito Vera. That's a massive fight, man.
Great fight.
It's gonna be fireworks. That bantamweight division's on fire, and then you put anyone against anyone on that top 5, top 10, you're gonna get bangers. So you got that. There's rumors that Aljo's gonna fight Cejudo in March as well. This March,
hopefully.
If I'm not mistaken, are we getting 2 cards in March? Because they're saying, obviously they've announced the London card.
02.
Rumoured to be Edwards, Usman 3. But then there's also news leaking that Usman's not ready. He's got hand surgery. Would they keep that matchup? Would they get Edwards to defend it in home soil? Or will they, get a replay, scrap that fight, move it to a later date, get a different headline? I don't know, but it seems an opportunity missed again. Like you said, you got this big fighter from the region, a champion, right? And to get to defend that belt. And look, I'm purposely keeping out one particular card so that we can get into it, which is UFC 284. But before we get to that, there's also rumors about Ngannou and Jones. For a March pay-per-view again. That's a big one, which is what's making me believe there are two cards in March.
And what's happening with Stipe? That's another...
Man,
he's officially been he's in the rankings. But
I mean, he hasn't fought. He's been very quiet in terms of the fight side of things.
Even Bam Bam or someone who needs a bounce back.
I think Bam
Pair him up. It'll be good. It'll be a good ease in for Stipe being away for long.
Yeah.
And Bam Bam coming off a break.
Yeah, Bam
Because
Bam.
Garn's about to fight. Isn't Garn lined up?
No, not yet.
Fight someone.
Not yet, but believe me, I reckon him and Pavlovich are on a collision course.
That's right. Yeah, Pavlovich. Yep.
I feel like they're on a collision course. They'll probably make that matchup. Or Garn might fight Blades.
Oh yeah,
Blade doesn't have a matchup either.
And Aspinall could be ready soon.
Aspinall could be
ready. It's been about 6 months since he did his knee, wasn't it? 7 months.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Another 2 more months.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. We got the massive. Dana's come and said this is definitely going to happen this year, which is the return of the one Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that we can expect.
Canada.
UFC Canada. Yes, that's true. And then obviously Conor McGregor, they're targeting the fight week in June, July.
Yeah.
That'll be massive as well. So we got all these exciting fights lined up.
Journeyman George hasn't fought Colby.
Colby hasn't fought in a while. Hamzat's there. Hamzat's asking for a fight.
Bring them all down here. I'm ready.
Man,
284.
Hey, look, part of me was like, why not make Hamzat's calling for a fight? Why not make Hamzat and Whittaker? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been an exciting fight.
There's a guy who started a petition online. No joke.
To have Whittaker.
To have Whittaker Hamzat here. He created a petition.
It would have been a good fight.
I don't know how many signatures so far, but yeah. Because the fans want that.
Because he's asking for a fight, and Whittaker doesn't have a fight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Will Whittaker need more time to prepare for someone like Hamzat? Probably, right? Because he's very specialist in terms of his area.
Their biggest issue, as we quickly get into Perth, their biggest issue is the distance people got to travel here. A marquee name, it's a long plane trip. And it's also, if you're fighting an Aussie, you got the crowd against you too.
Yeah.
So I think that's why with the Whittaker one, they probably just put that away.
Yeah.
But
it could also be a power show to show Costa. You know what I mean? And sort of using that as an example for everyone else. But obviously, it's not just impacting Costa; it's also impacting Whittaker as well. But I need to make it. I want to make it a point to say that I believe that this is not Costa's fault.
Yeah.
Right. He's just asking for his worth.
True.
Right. Yeah. If he is indeed getting paid what he's getting paid to fight someone like Whittaker all the way across the globe, that's not fair. Obviously, good on him for standing up for what he requires, and he's being open about it. He said, "I never came out and said he's been, if anything, to be fair, he's been constantly letting everyone know that he hasn't signed anything.
Yeah.
There is no signature.
Yeah. Fake news. He said.
So I think it's
very similar to the. Remember we saw, I think it was early last year or the year before. George Masvidal step in on late notice to fight after a fight fell through.
Yeah.
And I think UFC had so little time, it was like a week, that they just had to meet his demand.
Yeah.
I think with this, the thing working against Costa was that they already had 2 title fights.
Yeah.
So they're probably less likely to meet his demand. The pay-per-view can still technically go ahead with a good co and main.
Yeah.
But yes, it needs, a few more, value fights added.
Yeah.
Because the third fight's Crute Menafield and then it's Jack, which is, for a main event, for a main card on a pay-per-view, they're not quite, ranked. They're not ranked names.
And let's not forget, Kai Kara France dropped out as well.
Yeah.
He was meant to fight Perez. It did take a bit of a hit, which is always a risk, right? We know that it's always going to be a risk. But adding Dan Hooker would add a bit of substance to that card.
Yeah.
But like I said again, man, the main event itself is a massive, massive fight. You got Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski, and as it stands, it's pound for pound number 1 against pound for pound number 2, right? And then we've got the interim title fight against Josh Emmett and Yair Rodriguez. That's a big fight too. And look, it is a solid card, right? It's just that because we've already shown what it was going to be, and now not having Whittaker on, nor Kai Kara France, that's sort of it stings a bit.
Yeah.
But having said that, man, like,
we'll see, because I think, it won't surprise me if they add like one pretty big name.
Yeah.
Still, I think, like you said, I think you were the one to tell me pay-per-view money is huge,
Yeah.
While logistically everything's set to come down to Perth, they've already got everything going ahead. If they add one more big fight to it, it increases the incentive.
Yeah, correct.
To buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While ticket sales are already done.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view sales are not fully completed yet, right? People who buy pay-per-views just the day before, right? So they probably wait to see how big the card gets before they purchase a pay-per-view. So, do you know what I mean? So, but having said that, they can also only do whatever they can. They can't go out of the way to do anything. So,
true.
So far, super excited for UFC 284, which is the Perth one.
Yeah.
Almost excited for the Rio one. There's some great fights in there too.
Yeah.
We've got also. I'm pretty certain in saying that Australia's not impacted by this, but the pay-per-view prices are going up in the US.
Yeah.
So again, more pressure for the UFC to say, look, you need to justify the money. Did they justify it last year? Yes, they did. There were some banger cards.
Yeah.
You just got to step up and keep your gas on the pedal.
Yeah.
But don't be surprised, CT, if you start seeing more and more of these fighters start talking about money. Because I think if they're setting a trend now, it's time to catch on a lot more. A lot more people, like you got the Francis Ngannou's, the Paulo Costas, right? There's always going to be people who are fine with what they have and they move on with what they do. I feel there's going to be a lot more people this year, a lot more fighters this year. And look, kudos to anyone who stands up for just saying, look, this is what I'm worth, pay me that, right? Like, especially when you're in a profession where you're putting your body on the line, your life on the line. But
an Aussie guy who's been talking about that is Jake Matthews quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been also more on the proactive side of things in terms of trying to educate fighters that how to get sponsorships. You know? He says he's vocal about I've got 5 different businesses.
Yeah.
And, how can a fighter leverage sponsorship?
Yeah.
Every fighter in the UFC can leverage that they're a UFC athlete.
Yeah.
To get at least another 25 grand a year.
Yeah.
Through various means.
Yeah.
And also, just quickly, while I thought of him and Bam Bam, obviously those two guys could have been on the Perth card, but they took an earlier fight. I was always upset that Bam Bam took that November fight, which he ended up losing, when all he had to do was wait. Yeah, all he had to do was wait 3 more months.
Yeah,
and he'd be on this card, but and Jake, but that's a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But I also want to add Asia, right? There was talk Li Jing Liang, could have found his way onto this card versus Jack.
Okay.
Right, but then they found Randy Brown.
Randy Brown, yeah.
So with Li Jing Liang, like Perth is on Asia time, and it's so close to Asia, literally.
Yeah.
The UFC should be, if it's hard to get guys from South America or the US, just like Singapore, why haven't they made this card more Asian, heavy fighters, right? I'm sure there's plenty of talented fighters from Asia that could have, found their way on this scene.
Yeah, I agree. They could have. I think the only explanation I could think of is maybe it is because they have some big cards in Asia lined up.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you they'll probably visit Singapore again after the massive success it was last year.
Yeah.
UFC Korea has already been announced.
Wow.
As a fight
South
night.
Korea,
But I think Zombies rumored to be fighting there, headlining that card. Yeah. So they probably are saving some of the talent for that too.
Yeah.
Right.
In China, Song Yadong and Wei Li.
Wei Li, especially being a champ. And they'd want to leverage that and that market as well. So, look, great things up ahead. A lot of things to look forward to. Let's see. Look, there's another interesting concept that sort of started at the later part of last year was cross-promotional fights. So we saw Bellator versus Ryzen take on, and then Bellator obviously had a clean sweep 5-0. Will we see that happening with the UFC too, right? My gut feeling is no, because the UFC is a lot more larger organization and they're already successful as they are.
Yeah.
they don't have the need to collaborate with another organization to grow their fan base, right? Like for example, you see Bellator, you see Ryzen. By combining, you get both fans of both organizations watching this, and they get familiar with the other organization. They start, maybe they can pick up a few fans in that way. Whereas with the UFC, their fan base is solid, right? I don't think they can grow any more than that. So I don't think they have the need to. But there are some exciting fights if we do see some collaborations, right, across certain organizations, and we could see that could determine who the real. I think there won't be any business aspect to it, but if you want to determine who's the best lightweight in the planet, who's the best heavyweight in the planet, that's when you need to start seeing all these cross promotional ones, and everyone fights everyone to see who stands tall. So there's that. That's a possibility.
Yeah, and you mentioned Connor, but we'll be doing a lot more of our boxing content, because that's been well demanded from our fan base. The boxing. You obviously got Ruiz going to fight Wilder, huge year. Pacquiao's come out of retirement. I think Conor will box again. Mayweather's still out there. AJ, Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn has released a 3-fight sort of plan for the year for AJ, which supposedly ends the year in a Fury / Wilder fight, and he's very confident that's going to happen this year. So. Yeah, man, there's lots going on there with the Paul situation.
Man, in boxing, it could be all these things, but nothing, for me, nothing's probably bigger than Fury Usyk and Crawford and Errol Spence. They're the two big fights. Obviously, that's been touted to happen at Aston. There's a lot of stakes, It's about unifying, it's about finding out who the best is. Right.
Tank Davis is about to fight, I think this weekend or next.
Yeah, Tank Davis is fighting soon. Haney's rumored to fight Lomachenko. That'll be a good fight as well. So it's a lot of exciting boxing's picking up steam again as well, which we need to mention.
Competition ups the other competition. They don't want to not be in the news. While this other promotions every weekend. I think so. Hopefully you're right. They get their act together. And they just start making the fights, because by the time Joshua and Wilder fight, we'll all be grey.
We've been talking about it before we even knew what MMA was. You know what I mean? Like the problem is you got to follow the formula. UFC's laid out the blueprint to be successful. Right? Get the best to fight the best. That's it. It's as simple as that. Take it and follow it. That's all it is. I think there's a lot of agreements and all this going on, but just let's get the best fight and the best. That's when you get guaranteed fireworks, and that's when you obviously get your increase your fan followings as well. So, man, it was good sort of previewing so far what we know about the year. I'm sure there's a lot more to come. A lot of exciting stuff in the combat world. We will be a lot more active this year as well. You'll see a lot more updates coming out of us. We're going to be, fingers crossed, getting some exciting guests on the show. You'll see a lot more quick reactions as well. Whenever exciting things get announced, whenever possible, we'll be keep an eye on our Twitter and Instagram.
Shorts, YouTube will be uploading shorts. As well.
That's the tap. That's the name to follow. Right, so it's been a pleasure, CT previewing the year so far. So
ready to just dive into fights now and talk about it more. It's been a pleasure, and on this start to the year, it's a wrap.
Until we catch you in another episode of That's a Tap.
Salute.